Imagine practicing your faith, knowing that if anyone discovered your secret, you would be tortured and executed. Imagine never entering a church, never seeing a priest, and never owning a Bible for more than 250 years. The world believed Christianity had disappeared from Japan forever, but hidden behind ordinary homes and whispered prayers, thousands of believers refused to let their faith die. This is one of the most extraordinary true stories in Christian history. For more than 4 centuries ago, Japan was a land unlike anything European missionaries had ever seen. Its mountains were covered by ancient forests, its cities were ruled by powerful, feudal lords, and its people followed traditions that had shaped their civilization for centuries. To outsiders, it seemed almost impossible that Christianity could ever take root in such a distant and unfamiliar culture. Yet in 1549, a single missionary stepped onto Japanese soil carrying nothing more than his faith and the hope that the gospel could reach even the farthest corners of the world. His name was Francis Xavier, and although he could never have imagined it, his arrival would begin one of the most remarkable chapters in Christian history. The first years were surprisingly successful. Local communities listened with curiosity to the teachings brought by the missionaries. Entire villages embraced Christianity. Churches were built, and thousands of Japanese converted to the new faith. Some powerful lords even protected the missionaries, believing that stronger relationships with European traders could benefit their territories. Within only a few decades, Christianity spread farther than anyone expected. By the end of the 16th century, it is estimated that hundreds of thousands of Japanese had become Christians. For a brief moment, it seemed as though Japan might become one of Christianity's greatest strongholds in Asia, but political winds changed quickly. As the country moved toward unification under powerful military rulers, suspicion began to replace curiosity. The growing influence of European missionaries alarmed the government, which feared that Christianity was not simply a religion, but the first step toward foreign domination. What had once been tolerated soon became viewed as a threat to the nation's stability. Laws were passed ordering missionaries to leave the country. Churches were destroyed. Public worship was forbidden. Every Christian was given an impossible choice: abandon your faith or face the consequences. Those consequences became increasingly brutal. Men, women, and even children were arrested simply for possessing a cross or refusing to renounce Christianity. Some were imprisoned, others were tortured publicly as a warning to everyone else. Entire Christian communities disappeared almost overnight. One of the government's cruelest methods became known as the fumi. Wooden or bronze images of Jesus Christ or the Virgin Mary were placed on the ground, and every citizen was ordered to step on them. It was a simple act with devastating meaning. Those who obeyed demonstrated loyalty to the government. Those who refused revealed themselves as Christians, often condemning themselves and their families to imprisonment, torture, or execution. Over time, Christianity appeared to vanish completely. Missionaries had been expelled. Churches had been burned. Christian books had been destroyed. To the outside world, Japan had become a nation without Christians. Historians, travelers, and foreign governments believed the faith had been erased forever. But they were wrong. Hidden behind the walls of ordinary homes, small communities quietly continued to believe. Parents whispered prayers to their children late at night, carefully teaching them words that had been memorized for generations because no written Bible remained. Baptisms continued in secret, performed not by priests, but by fathers and mothers determined that their faith would not disappear. Religious images were cleverly disguised to resemble Buddhist statues, allowing families to keep symbols of Christ and the Virgin Mary without attracting suspicion. These believers became known as the Kakur Kirishitan, the hidden Christians. For more than 250 years, generation after generation protected a faith they could practice only in complete secrecy. Children grew into adults without ever seeing a church. Entire families lived and died without meeting a priest. Yet, somehow, despite isolation, persecution, and fear, the heart of Christianity continued beating quietly beneath the surface of Japanese society. Everything changed in 1865, after Japan slowly reopened its borders to the outside world. French missionaries were finally allowed to build a small Catholic church in Nagasaki. It was a modest building, and no one expected anything extraordinary to happen. But only weeks after its doors opened, a small group of Japanese villagers entered. Quietly, they looked around carefully, making sure they were alone. Then an elderly woman approached the French priest, Father Bernard Petitchen, and spoke words that would astonish the Christian world. "Our hearts are the same as yours." She then asked him a question that confirmed the impossible. "Where is the statue of Holy Mary?" At that moment, Father Petitchen realized he was standing before descendants of Christians who had secretly preserved their faith for more than 2 centuries without priests, churches, or public worship. Thousands soon emerged from villages across Japan, revealing that Christianity had never truly disappeared. It had simply gone underground, protected by ordinary families whose courage allowed one of history's greatest stories of perseverance to survive. History often remembers the victories won by armies and emperors, but some of the greatest triumphs are invisible. They happen inside homes where parents quietly teach their children what they believe. They happen in whispered prayers spoken under the threat of death. They happen when ordinary people refuse to surrender hope even after generations of suffering. The hidden Christians of Japan never built great cathedrals, never commanded armies, and never changed the course of history through force. Yet by preserving their faith in silence for more than 250 years, they left behind one of the most extraordinary testimonies of courage, devotion, and perseverance the Christian world has ever known. Their story reminds us that while buildings may be destroyed, books may be burned, and voices may be silenced, genuine faith can survive even the darkest chapters of history.